What's happening around the world?
And what's happening here at home. A very good evening. You're watching Primetime News on TV1. Bringing you the news, I'm Mariam Kunemichaya.
And I'm Sandro Ferdinando. Let's take a look at your headlines for tonight.
Navy entrusted with safeguarding Sri Lanka's oceanic territories, says President at fleet inspection.
මේ නාවක හමුදාව ලංකාවේ ආරක්ෂාවට පමණක් නෙමෙයි ඉන්දියන් සාගරයේ ආරක්ෂාවටත් කැපෙලා තියෙනවා.
Agreement signed for Indian energy projects in 3 islands in the north. Motorcycle gunmen target man in Ahungalla. Police officer apologizes to civilians in court for the second time in 2 weeks.
President Ranil Wickremesinghe emphasized that the Sri Lanka Navy has been entrusted with the responsibility of safeguarding Sri Lanka's oceanic territories, including the Indian Ocean region.
The President expressed this statement at the Presidential Fleet Review of the Sri Lanka Navy at the Trincomalee Harbour.
President Ranil Wickremesinghe awarded President Colours to the Sri Lanka Navy's Special Boat Squadron at the Presidential Fleet Review of the Sri Lanka Navy at the Trincomalee Harbour.
Our Navy has been dedicated to safeguarding not only the territorial waters of Sri Lanka but also the wider Indian Ocean region. We have pledged our commitment to the agreement of the United Nations in this matter. It is imperative that we prevent any harm to our economic endeavours in the Indian Ocean. Today's event holds historical significance as it takes place at the Trincomalee Harbour, which is not only esteemed in Sri Lanka but also worldwide. It is imperative that we safeguard this harbour, which is a crucial asset of our nation. We must exercise prudence and vigilance in its protection.
ලංකාවට අයිති වරාය. ඒකත් අපි ආරක්ෂා කරන්න තියෙනවා. අපි පැති ගන්න නැතුව වැඩ කටයුතු කරන්න තියෙනවා.
The event was further enhanced by a naval display performed by the Navy's Special Boat Squadron and other warships.
Born during the Vietnam War.
Ceremonial mark of respect offered.
Meanwhile, President Ranil Wickremesinghe also attended Sri Lanka Air Force Cadet Officers Commissioning ceremony held yesterday afternoon at the Air Force Base in China Bay, Trincomalee. 58 were appointed to the authority.
Your commitment to upholding the country's constitution must remain steadfast. You must also respect all those who work alongside you and provide leadership to you. Guide them consistently and remain proactive in your approach. Just as you expect obedience from your subordinates, be prepared to follow the directives of your superiors. True discipline can only be achieved through mutual respect and adherence to authority. You are entrusted with the responsibility of safeguarding the country from internal and external hostile forces. It is imperative that you dedicate yourself to upholding the stability of the country in accordance with the Constitution, ensuring adherence to the nation's laws at all times.
The night commissioning parade held at Air Force Base in China Bay, Trincomalee, marked a historic milestone for the Sri Lanka Air Force, being the first of its kind in its history. The event featured musical performances, parachute shows and cultural events.
The government of Sri Lanka and India's U Solar Clean Energy Solutions Private Limited signed the contract for the implementation of hybrid renewable energy systems in Delft, Analathivы and Nainathivы islands of Jaffna. An agreement for the development of a hybrid renewable energy system in 3 islands in Jaffna was signed today. Power and Energy Minister Kanchana Vijayasekara said under a full financial grant of $10.995 million extended by the government of the Republic of India, Delft, Analathivai and Nainathiva Islands will receive the hybrid renewable energy system by March 2025. The project, with 530 kilowatts of wind power, 1,700 kilowatts of solar power, 2,400 kilowatts of battery power and 2,500 kilowatts of standby diesel power system will be constructed at the 3 islands. Do you remember? A proposal was initially made by a Chinese company to build a hybrid power generation system centering these 3 islands. However, the same project put forward by Sinoso Hybrid Limited was rejected in 2021. The Chinese embassy in Sri Lanka said the project was suspended because of security concerns from a third party. The Chinese company, after abandoning the project in Sri Lanka, later set up solar power plants on 12 islands in the Maldives. The company said that it had received the tender for the power projects in Delft, Analathivai and Nainathiva Islands after the cabinet granted approval. At that time, India repeatedly said that it was keeping an eye on these projects.
Russian Navy ship Varyag reached the port of Colombo.
The Russian Pacific Fleet's missile cruiser Varyag has arrived at the Sri Lankan port of Colombo. Sri Lanka Navy said the ship was welcomed by the Sri Lanka Navy in accordance with naval tradition. The 187-meter-long ship is a missile cruiser manned by a crew of 529. During their stay in Sri Lanka, the crew members of the ship are expected to take part in several programs organized by the Sri Lanka Navy with a view to promote camaraderie and visit some of the tourist attractions in the country. During its stay at the port of Colombo, the Russian naval ship will replenish water and fuel supplies. The Russian warship will stay at the port until the 4th of March, following which it will continue accomplishing its assigned missions in its long-distance deployment.
2 Sri Lankan Navy vessels returned to Sri Lanka last evening following the successful participation in 2 separate military exercises in India and the Maldives.
SLNS Sirasa returned home after successfully participating in the multilateral naval exercise Milan 2024. The naval exercise, hosted by the Indian Navy, was held from the 19th to the 27th of February in the Visakhapatnam port and in the Bay of Bengal, eastern seas of India. Milan 2024 had been organized as 2 phases, and the harbour phase of it was conducted at the Visakhapatnam port from the 19th to the 23rd of February. Meanwhile, the sea phase of Milan 2024 was held from the 24th to the 27th of February in the eastern seas of India. A total of 34 ships, aircraft and 1 submarine participated in this phase. The sea phase included advanced and complex exercises, and it aimed at enhancing interoperability, maritime cooperation and to share best practices amongst participating navies. Weapon firings, advanced anti-submarine warfare exercises, cross-deck helicopter landings, simulation of complex operational scenarios and tactical maneuvers were also exercised during the sea phase. Sri Lanka naval ship Samudra returned at the port of Trincomalee after taking part in the exercise Dosti 16. The trilateral exercise Dosti was held in Malé from the 22nd to the 25th of February with the participation of Sri Lanka Coast Guard, Indian Coast Guard and the Maldives National Defence Force. With a team of Sri Lanka Coast Guard personnel, SLNS Samudra took part in the exercise Dosti 16. Dosti 16 involved a variety of activities such as medical evacuation, visit boat search and seizure and piracy, search and rescue drill and steam past. Up next is Crime Watch.
Crime Watch.
Location: Ahungalle. Time: 12:05 p.m. 2 motorcycle gunmen opened fire. This is how the 2 gunmen were spying opposite the hotel. The pillion rider went into the hotel and opened fire. Thereafter came back near the motorcycle, picked up something that had fallen off before speeding away. The victim of the shooting was a 45-year-old three-wheel driver named Neil Kusum Kumara Mendes, who was a resident of Koskoda. He died on the spot due to a gunshot fired aiming at his head. Police said that a 9mm pistol has been used in the shooting. A magistrate's examination was conducted. The body was later taken to the Balapitiya Base Hospital for the post-mortem.
Crime Watch.
Meanwhile, an unknown person has shot at a house in Mahadulava, Padukka last night. Police confirmed that no one was injured in the shooting. The shooting took place after a group of residents from Piliyandala had come to Padukka last night to lay the foundation stone of their new house and were residing in a neighbouring house thereafter.
We slept at around 10:30 p.m. Suddenly, my mother and my aunt had heard footsteps of someone walking outside. We didn't know what it was exactly. All of a sudden, we heard a rattling sound opposite us. Thereafter, we all ran to the kitchen and called the police. My mother had heard someone slightly uttering my father's name. We don't have such enemies.
Crime Watch.
Inspector General of Police Deshabandhu Thenakun has announced the initiation of a new drug addict rehabilitation program. He expressed these views during a program held at the Colombo University today. The Surakshita Heta program targeting schools was launched in the presence of Inspector General of Police Deshabandhu Thenakun. The Mahasangha and the Vice Chancellor of the Colombo University, Professor H.D. Karunaratna, were among those present. During the event, university students who play a crucial role in implementing drug prevention programs for school students were thoroughly briefed.
This country faces a significant gap in its rehabilitation programs, leaving hundreds of thousands of drug addicts, including over 300 identified by the latest survey, without proper support. When will they receive the necessary rehabilitation? We are a group that operates outside the recognized framework, and as a consequence, we have faced criticism. However, we believe that acting solely based on accepted norms and principles wouldn't be sufficient in addressing this critical issue. Therefore, we have collaborated with the Shasana Raksha Balamandala to establish a network of medication centers. Our plan is to open 250 centers across the country in March, each combining 2 police divisions under the umbrella of the Shasana Rakshaka Balamandala. Each center will aim to admit a minimum of 50 individuals, allowing us to potentially rehabilitate at least 10,000 people concurrently. We have already taken the necessary steps by submitting the proposed locations of these centers to the Minister of Justice for approval, whose authority is critical to grant legal permission for the operation of such facilities.
A
Sri Lankan police sub-inspector bowed and extended apologies to 3 individuals during a legal proceeding taken up in open court. Now, this incident is linked to a threat that occurred when an unauthorized entry was made into a private institution situated in Kolpiti back in 2021.
In 2021, the sub-inspector affiliated with the Kolpiti police forcefully entered a private institution, dressed in civilian attire and armed, accompanied by several other police officers, while an internal disciplinary investigation was ongoing at the institution. Subsequently, he issued threats to 2 officers from the institution's Human Resources Department, including a lawyer who was present during the disciplinary investigation proceedings. The sub-inspector was the initial respondent in a petition filed in relation to the incident. Today, the sub-inspector extended apologies to the complainants in the Court of Appeal. The sub-inspector extended his apologies as per the Sinhalese tradition by placing his hands together and bowing down. The sub-inspector apologized to Attorney Muru Galaheva, the Human Resources Manager of the private institution, and its Assistant Human Resources Manager. He made the apology in the presence of Justices Menaka Jayasundara and Mohammed Lafar. When the case was called up, the bench of the Court of Appeal stressed that public trust in the police department has collapsed. During the court proceedings, the bench clarified that its orders were not intended as an insult to the police force, rather they underscored a matter of deep concern. The bench emphasized the fundamental rights of individuals, affirming their right to advocate for these rights. Furthermore, the bench highlighted that had the aggrieved party pursued a fundamental rights case, compensation might have been attainable for the incident. The judges stressed that police officers must adhere to regulations governing their duties, cautioning against unnecessary displays of power. The bench pointed out that the unnecessary use of power had led to such a situation. The bench specifically noted that the officers should consistently wear their official uniform and carry their identification when conducting official duties and raids. They added that the failure to do so could lead to misinterpretation, with people confusing legitimate operations with unauthorized actions. The bench acknowledged that even criminal elements are capable of conducting such raids, emphasizing that public officials should not emulate such behavior. The bench firmly said that possessing a police ID card and uniform does not grant unlimited authority, and police officers should not maintain such attitude. The bench emphasized the importance of thorough investigations and stressed that raids should not be initiated solely based on a complaint. They also stressed that there was opportunity for the police to gather information from the security officers attached to the private institution with regard to the incident. The bench sternly admonished the sub-inspector, instructing to refrain from such actions in the future. Furthermore, they directed the sub-inspector to formally apologize to the affected parties in accordance with the protocols of the Sinhalese traditional system. Still in local news, Additional Health Secretary Saman Ratnayake was arrested by the Criminal Investigation Department today. Saman Ratnayake, Additional Secretary of the Ministry of Health, appeared before the CID this afternoon to provide a statement regarding the medicine procurement scandal. This action was in compliance with an order issued by the Maligakanda Magistrates Court. The Criminal Investigation Department continues to gather additional statements from Ratnayake with regard to the scandal. Moving on, the Western Provincial Department of Education has launched an investigation into the reported leak of the 11th grade history and science question papers before the examinations. Western Provincial Education Director Nimal Jaivirus said that information has been received regarding this alleged leak.
Western Province Director of the Department of Education, Nimal Jaivirus, said that sections of the history and science question papers have been circulated via WhatsApp before the examination. He said the law will be strictly enforced against the individuals involved in the incident after the completion of the investigation. All Ceylon Vocational Trainers Association today filed a complaint at the Criminal Investigations Department over the incident. The Government Teachers Association explained how the incident took place.
Parents outside are yelling about the education system falling apart because of incompetent officials. We've been repeating that these officials' roles should not be extended. They leaked not just the diagram but the question paper with the logo of the Western Province Education Department, which has been circulating on WhatsApp since last night.
Parents also expressed opinions on the incident. The All Ceylon Teachers Union raised concerns over who is responsible for the money spent on conducting the compromised examination.
The Western Province funds have been allocated to conduct these examinations, with nearly 10 million rupees budgeted. But now, what happens to this money? We demand clear and responsible measures to be taken in this regard. What is the point of a Provincial Education Ministry, Provincial Education Department or Divisional Office?
The National Association of Principals said the examination will be held again.
All principals are forced to discard the compromised question papers and reschedule the entire examination. This situation highlights the shortcomings of the Education Administration Service officials. Despite having essential responsibilities within the education system, they have failed to fulfill their duties.
Tomorrow marks the illustrious 30-year journey of Sirasa FM, a milestone brimming with pride and nostalgia. Today's special programs were organized to honor this remarkable occasion.
Illuminating Sri Lanka's radio history, Sirasa FM commenced its broadcast on the 2nd of March 1994. To commemorate this milestone, a series of special programs were arranged for today and tomorrow. This morning, a significant event unfolded at the Hangwalla Ambulgama Raja Mahaviharaya, the inauguration of the gold-plated wall around the sacred bo tree. The event was graced by Venerable Dankamde Bodhivansa Thera. The chairman of the Capital Maharaja Group, Sashi Raja Mahendran, Group Director and COO S.C. Veerasekara, Director General Manager of MBC Networks Buddhika Vikramanayaka and Sirasa FM Channel Head Sajit Patnayaka were among others who were present.
බෝධියක් ගැන කිව්වම හිතන එක දෙයක් තමයි අපි ආපහු අර පරණ යුගයේ තිබ්බ වෘක්ෂ වන්දනාවට නැවත යනවාද කියන එක.
Many people think that we will go back to the time of worshipping trees when we speak of bo trees. Here we worship the trees that supported Lord Buddha in his enlightenment. Lord Buddha sat there and made a vow that he will not move without attaining enlightenment. Evil spirits attempted to defeat him as he sat in his meditative position. Today, our society has to face these challenges. Evil spirits surround us as we embark on these prosperous journeys. Today, we have planted a bo tree that helped Lord Buddha manifest his enlightenment for the villagers. This is a part of Jayashri Mahabodhi.
අද අපි මේ ග්‍රාමවාසී සියලු දෙනාටම මෙතෙන්ට ගෙනල්ලා රෝපණය කළා තියෙන්නේ. මෙය අපේ ශ්‍රී මහා බෝධි මෞසාකාවේම අංකුරයක්.
The construction of an elephant corridor along the Northern Railway between Ambanpola and Galgamur is underway. The event took place in the presence of Minister Bambala Gunawardena. The elephant corridor along the Northern Railway between Ambanpola and Galgamur will be established in the Kasikote area. The corridor design includes an underground passage with a sturdy concrete cover, facilitating safe elephant movement beneath the railway tracks. Environmentalists have consistently raised concerns about the frequent collisions between wild elephants and trains in this region, prompting the need for this dedicated passage. Prior to launching the project in the early hours of the day, a herd of elephants were captured on camera crossing the area.
Elephants are a resource for this country. Elephants are strength for the economy. We protested, signed petitions and went to the UN and raised our voices saying that we are losing the elephants of this country. A project has begun for the betterment of the people and the wildlife, so as the Mahasangha will offer our blessings for it. Sri Lanka Railways owns large swathes of land in the reserves and trains operate within these reserves. Therefore, during the previous budget, I proposed to the President to use the railway property for a plaza hotel, cinema or a small city as a long-term investment instead of selling them. I will obtain approval for that.
International Women's Day 2024 falls on the 8th of March, and tonight we take a look at a female pilot at Sri Lankan Airlines who never gave up on her dreams.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Your captain speaking. My name is Chamika Rupasinghe. I would like to welcome all of you on board this flight UL 503 from Colombo, London Heathrow. We shall be departing shortly. After departure, left turn towards the Indian subcontinent.
This is Captain Chamika Rupasinghe. Captain Rupasinghe flies for Sri Lankan Airlines and joined the industry during her university days as an air hostess. Yet, she never gave up on her dream of one day flying for an airline and eventually became a pilot for Sri Lanka's national carrier and is in charge of Airbus A320, A330 and A340 aircraft.
I thought the cost of becoming a pilot would be astronomical. I decided to join Sri Lankan Airlines during my first year in university to support my family. After flying for 15 hours, I directly head to the university. So, by the time I completed my degree, I had money with me that I used to pursue my career. Decisions need to be taken within the cockpit at 30,000 feet up in the air. The decision on any issue should be the correct decision. A pilot cannot make a mistake, and there is no mercy for that. To taste the sweetness of success, we first need to experience the bitterness of pain. We pass and fail at times, but we will never be able to go forward if we abandon our journey.
The bitterness and the painfulness of pain.
We're crossing into a short commercial break.
Stay with Newsfirst. We will be right back.
The Bhagavad Gita is a scripture that is scientific and universal, which means it's meant for all humans across the globe.
In-person Bhagavad Gita lecture by Sunandaji on the 2nd to the 6th of March 2024 from 6:45 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Buddhist Cultural Center near Tomula Junction, Colombo 5. Registration and details vedantacolombo.org or contact 076-279-6113. Media sponsors TV1, Sirasa TV, Shakti TV and Newsfirst.
BizFast.
Expo Lanka Holdings has decided to delist from the Colombo Stock Exchange. Expo Lanka Holdings PLC has made a significant decision to delist the company from the official list of the Colombo Stock Exchange. The move comes in response to the prevailing global and macroeconomic conditions, as outlined in the company's official announcement today. As part of this strategic move, arrangements have been made for principal shareholder SG Holdings Global to purchase shares from existing shareholders who wish to divest their holdings. The purchase price has been set at 185 rupees per share.
Litro and Labs announced there will be no price change this month in LP gas products. Moving on to more local news, Minister of State for Finance Shehan Semasinghe shared his perspective on the government's course of action in response to the administrative diagnostic report concerning Sri Lanka.
Sri Lanka becomes the first country in Asia to make a such request from the IMF and also to have a diagnostic assessment report published. So that shows the commitment of the government of Sri Lanka. Now, based on the governance diagnostic report published by the IMF, the Sri Lankan government has published action plan in ensuring to achieve the points which are being laid down in the diagnostic report. So this shows the firm commitment of the President and the government of Sri Lanka to ensure that Sri Lanka will have a resilient economy, a sustainable economy, and to follow all good practices and good governance in Sri Lanka. So this is a great step moving towards good governance as well as ensuring a sustainable economy with the support of all the government officials as well as people in Sri Lanka. Now the responsibilities diverse to different ministries and departments, including the Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Justice, Ministry of Industries, the Board of Investment, then the Constitutional Council. Likewise, the responsibilities are divested among different ministries and institutions. So we believe this would be a great step towards ensuring transparency and good governance in Sri Lanka that will eternally ensure that we move towards a resilient and a sustainable economy.
Meanwhile, headline inflation as measured by the year-on-year change in the Colombo Consumer Price Index decelerated to 5.9% in February 2024 from 6.4% in January 2024. This deceleration in the headline inflation is broadly in line with the projections of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka.
The Communications Department of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka said that food inflation accelerated to 3.5% in February 2024 from 3.3% in January 2024, whereas non-food inflation decelerated to 7% in February 2024 from 7.9% in January 2024. Monthly change of CCPI recorded minus 0.05% in February 2024 due to the combined effect of price decreases of 0.67% observed in the terms of food category and price increases of 0.62% observed in the items of non-food category.
Meanwhile, the Central Bank of Sri Lanka said that workers' remittances increased in January this year compared to the previous year.
Workers' remittances amounted to $488 million in January 2024 in comparison to $437 million in January 2023 and $570 million in December 2023. Workers' remittances continue to record a broad-based increasing trend despite intermittent seasonal fluctuations since recording a notable recovery in 2022. Foreign investments in the government securities market, which continue to record net outflows in recent months, recorded a net outflow of $10 million in January 2024 as well. Meanwhile, foreign inflows to the Colombo Stock Exchange, including both primary and secondary market transactions, recorded net flows of $5 million in January 2024.
The Central Bank of Sri Lanka says that the country's gross official reserves increased to $4.5 billion.
Sri Lanka's gross official reserves continued to improve $4.5 billion by end January 2024. The central bank said that the improvement in the country's GOR included the swap facility from the People's Bank of China, equivalent to around $1.4 billion, which is subject to conditionalities on usability. The increase in the GOR was mainly due to the substantial net purchases of foreign exchange from the domestic market by the central bank. Overall, the central bank purchased $245 million on net basis during the month of January 2024. At the same time, the central bank said that the appreciation trend of the exchange rate that was observed since the latter part of December continued thus far in 2024. It added that the Sri Lanka rupee appreciated by 4.4% against the US dollar during the year up to 29 February 2024. Meanwhile, reflecting the cross-currency movements, the Sri Lanka rupee appreciated against other major currencies such as the euro, the pound sterling, the Japanese yen, the Indian rupee and the Australian dollar during the year up to 29 February 2024. In line with the nominal appreciation, the real effective exchange rate also appreciated during the month of January 2024.
මම මේ පාසලේ විදුහල්පති වරියක් ලෙස සේවය කළා. ඇත්තෙන්ම මම සේවය කරන කාලය තුල මේ ජලය තිබුණාට ස්ථිර ජල සම්පතක් තිබුණේ නැහැ. ඒ තරම් දුෂ්කරතාවයක් තමයි අපි බිව්වෙත් මේ ඇලේන වතුර තමයි තේ පවාව උණු කරගෙන බිව්වේ.
අපිට තිබුණේ පොඩි ප්‍රශ්නයක් ජලය නැති එක. හැබැයි ඒක ලොකු ප්‍රශ්නයක් වගේ. මොකද මේ ජලය නැතුව අපි හරියට දුක් විඳා.
Those were the comments made by a resident in the south of Sri Lanka during the opening of Gammadda project.
Today, Gammadda was able to support the local community in Katiyape Mathara by solving a perennial issue related to the access to water. The Mathara Katiyape North Junior College, situated amidst the lush greenery, ingeniously fastened a bamboo pipe to a sturdy tree trunk, channeling water for its daily needs. However, despite this resourcefulness, the college remained parched, unable to satiate its thirst. The groundwater within the school premises is unsuitable for consumption. The only water source is located around 500 meters away from the school. Yet, the pipe system lies in a messy state. This school educates over 100 students, and they only had tears in their eyes for years. Gammadda understood the plight of this situation and stepped forward. The Engineers Union of the National Engineering Research and Development Centre of Sri Lanka financially supported the project.
The Engineers Association is proud to have donated funds to the Gammadda program. We recognize Gammadda's well-deserved recognition both domestically and internationally for his significant contributions to community service. Gammadda's impressive record of impactful initiatives made it the clear choice for us to direct our collective funds.
The chief of the Deyandra Vidyakirti Pirivana, Venerable Parapamulle Bakkalathera, invoked blessings on the project and those present. The principal of the Matra Katiape North Junior College expressed deep appreciation to Gammadda for solving one of the most perennial issues faced by the local community.
Gammadda generously donated water tanks today, including one 1,000-litre tank, one 2,000-litre tank and one 500-litre tank. This brings the total capacity to 3,500 litres. The existing well currently holds 7,000 litres of water, further contributing to the school's water security.
The Katiape Additional Zonal Education Director had this to say.
No matter how much money you have, a single drop of water remains invaluable. There may come a time when even money cannot buy it. This crucial point was emphasized by none other than Shevan Daniel during the Gammadda Maramandia water project. As a participant in that event, I recall his words. The water access brought to your village through this project is an invaluable treasure. It offers a solution to your challenges. Therefore, it becomes your responsibility to safeguard this gift.
Public officials, Director of the National Engineering Research and Development Centre Kamal Mideniya, Chief Research Engineer A.R. Salgado and representatives of Gammadda, among others, were present.
Made in Sri Lanka.
Newsfirst with the people.
MP Vasantha Yapabewardene met the chief prelate of the Atamasthana today.
Vasantha Yapabewardene met the chief prelate of the Atamasthana, where he discussed efforts to rescue the Sri Lankan youth trapped inside the slave camps in Myanmar.
With the blessings of the chief of prelate of the Atamasthana, Venerable Palle Gama Hemarathanathera, and our Mahasangha, we will be taking a letter to the chief priest of Buddhist cultural affairs in Myanmar. We will strongly urge them to help and to discuss with the government, military officials and the state military officials of Mayawadi to rescue the 56 Sri Lankans who are trapped in Myanmar.
The 20th International Conference on Business Management concluded in Colombo, following a week-long program exploring the theme of resilience and reinvention for sustainable development in the VUCA world.
Organised by the University of Sri Jayawardhanapura, the conference featured pre-conference workshops and research paper presentations, along with discussions on resilience and reinvention for sustainable development in the VUCA world. Professor John Dumay from Macquarie University in Australia attended the event as the keynote speaker.
We have the global north who relies on the global south for raw materials. If you go to Harvard University, they call it the shared value model. I'm a little bit critical of the shared value model. What I believe the shared value model does is ensures that large multinational corporations can obtain raw materials at really cheap prices and high quality without really considering the impact it has on the countries they're getting it from.
Chairman of the University Grants Commission, Professor Sampath Amaratunga, graced the event as the chief guest.
Scopus predicts in Sri Lanka, computer science will definitely overtake the impact ranking of medical very soon. So that is unbelievable, because we have 6 engineering faculties and 12 medical faculties all over the world. People are concerned about diseases and so many important health issues. So a lot of research are coming on. But with this one, how engineering, with this crisis, how engineering research overtake medical research. That is unbelievable.
Over 100 research papers focused on building business resilience and fostering sustainable practices in a complex and volatile world. The week-long conference concluded with a business forum and networking session where leaders from 5 leading business organizations shared their insights.
Elevate your business insight and self-worth with renowned Harvard professor Dr. Boris Groisberg on the 4th, 5th and 6th of March as he joins Sri Lanka's leading business minds, deconstructing and analyzing the world's most successful brands and their inspiring case studies. Join this rare opportunity to participate in an interactive study and discussion series. Entry by reservation only. Call 0777 881 922. Media sponsor, Newsfirst.
At least 45 people have been killed after a fire broke out in a multi-story building in Bangladesh.
ඔබ මේ වන විටත් දන්නවා ඊයේ ඩකායතු අවසන් වද සිද්ධිය. මේ ඔබ දකින්නේ එම බිල්ඩිමේ දෙවනි තට්ටුවේ තිබුණු ආපන ශාලාවක තමයි ගින්න ඇති වෙලා තිබෙන්නේ. මේ දැන් එම බිල්ඩිමේ දැන් තත්ත්වයයි ඔබ මේ දකින්නේ.
At least 104 Palestinians have been killed and another 750 wounded at an aid distribution point west of the Gaza city in what the local health ministry spokesperson described as an unprovoked Israeli attack on the civilians waiting for a delivery on Thursday.
Video from the scene of the massacre posted to social media showed people fleeing and taking cover while victims were taken to hospitals by any means available, including donkey carts, as roads to the site had been destroyed. However, it was impossible to confirm from the video what had triggered the deadly chaos. The Israeli Defense Forces officially acknowledged dozens of injuries and casualties among the crowd, but blamed the victims, claiming they were pushing and trampling at the site of the 8 trucks. An Israeli military source not authorized to speak with the press admitted his colleagues fired at the crowd but blamed the victims for that as well. However, witnesses' stories appeared incompatible with the suggestion the soldiers who fired on the crowd had done so out of fear. DF troops allegedly opened fire twice, waiting until the first aid seekers had returned to the truck from hiding to shoot them again, according to Kamel Abu Nahel, who told reporters from his bed in Al-Shifa hospital that he was shot in the leg and then run over as the truck sped away from the scene. Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas condemned, quote, the ugly massacre conducted by the Israeli occupation army this morning against the people who waited for the 8 trucks, end quote, according to his office. Hamas also condemned the incident, which it called unprecedented in the history of war crimes, as part of Israel's war of starvation against the people of Gaza.
In more news overseas, George Galloway has clinched a stunning victory in the Rochdale by-election after one of the most divisive and chaotic contests in recent history. Local voters have chosen the firebrand politician as their new MP to replace Sir Tony Lloyd following the death of the veteran Labour politician last month. Galloway, who put a hardline pro-Palestinian stance at the heart of his campaign, is now set to end his 9-year absence from the House of Commons.
The veteran political agitator George Galloway declared a shifting of the tectonic plates away from Labour after claiming a stunning victory in the Rochdale by-election. Galloway, one of the most divisive politicians in Britain, won almost 40% of the vote in a contest beset by chaos and controversy and dominated by the conflict in Gaza. He took aim at Keir Starmer and Rishi Sunak in a victory speech that was interrupted by hecklers after a dramatic count at Rochdale Leisure Centre.
This is for Gaza. You have paid and you will pay a high price for the role that you have played in enabling, encouraging and covering for the catastrophe presently going on in occupied Palestine in the Gaza Strip.
And with that, we wrap up Primetime News for tonight.
Thank you very much for joining us. Good night and take care.